All right, so you are there now. Let's wrap up this chapter with thinking about how Walmart relearned to reduce shrinkage costs. Now, shrinkage, if you've never heard of it, is simply a cost to a business when it has stolen or lost merchandise. And so, in order to reduce shrinkage costs, Walmart has begun to employ these employees called asset protection customer specialists. And you may have seen them. You might refer to them as greeters, right, at Walmart. And basically what they do is they randomly check receipts as you leave the store, and they use a scanner to tag items that the shoppers plan to return before entering the store, right? So simply a way to try to keep track of things leaving the store and entering the store, and making sure no one's doing anything shady that they shouldn't be doing. All right, and one last example, taking us back to the 3D printing that we talked about at the beginning. So cutting per unit costs or average total costs of making drugs and exploring other worlds with 3D and molecular printers. So as it turns out, medical scientists are now applying molecular printing to develop and produce new pharmaceutical drugs at lower average and marginal costs. Additionally, future space missions will include storage space for both 3D and molecular printers, which can produce buildings and food and drinks on site. So this will be really important if we ever try to travel back to the moon and establish a colony on the moon, or send people to Mars and do the same thing. Now, by saving space and weight, the short-run average and marginal costs for individual missions would decline, and they would be lower. And the long-run average cost of exploring the solar system would also be lower due to the lower number of required rocket missions, right? We wouldn't need to send multiple rockets to Mars to bring materials to build, say, a base. We could build bases with these 3D printers instead. All right, so that's the end of this chapter. So just to recap, we looked at the difference between short run and long run. We learned that the short run is when there's at least one input that is fixed, and for us in this chapter that was capital. So in the short run, the amount of buildings and machinery cannot be changed by the firm in the short run. But in the long run, they can change anything, any one of their inputs, including capital. Then we looked at production in the firm, specifically at a couple of concepts, marginal product of labor, and we saw how it can at first increase, but then at some point it declines, the law of diminishing marginal product, and we talked about why that's true. Then we talked about the short run and the cost curves that the firm experiences in the short run. So we saw that there were fixed and average fixed costs. Yeah, okay. Fixed and average fixed costs, variable and average variable costs, total and average total costs, and marginal costs, right? And then we wrapped it all up by looking at the long run, right, where everything is variable for the firm. And so we saw that the long run cost curve is basically the planning horizon. The firm basically wants to decide where along that curve it wants to be. And again, everything is variable, including the size of the plant or the warehouse or the manufacturing facility, etc. And we saw how that we can sort of subdivide the long-run average cost curve into three parts, right? Economies and diseconomies of scale, and then, of course, where cost is minimized, and constant returns to scale. All right. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. I'll see you in the next chapter. So Thursday, your second exam is due. Don't forget about that. We don't have a lecture video for Thursday. You just have to worry about your exam. So good luck on that. There's a practice exam. Be sure to try that a couple times before you do the real exam. But in any case, I wish you the best of luck, and I'll see you in the next video lecture on next Tuesday for the next chapter.